Alright, today is April 21st. Happy birthday to me. No, today's not my birthday. My birthday was April 2nd. I haven't recorded anything since March, I guess. That long diatribe that I just recently posted on the inversion of the American dream. But that is not what we're talking about today. I was reminded by a certain muse that I should do a reflections after my birthday. Maybe because I'm a little bit older, hopefully a little bit wiser. I spent the weekend in Austin, got a tattoo, driving, but there you can kind of see it, pieces of it. It is inspired by the Quadrivium, which is an extension, the 4 subjects of study after the trivium, which was grammar, logic, and rhetoric, input, analysis, output. And the Quadrivium focuses on arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy, or cosmology. And there are elements interwoven throughout that piece. There's actually the ellipses of the music of the spheres, which are to be understood, the celestial movements in regards to or reference to Earth and how they create musical harmony within their ellipses. So, as far as the reflections go, and I've been diving deep into Black Earth Productions as of late, as I prefaced it in a few videos earlier, and reflection gives us a time to think, quite often to think about what we have learned, and it is this topic itself that I find so interesting, the ability to learn. And as I think back on the past few years especially, I realize how much I've learned, how much information I've taken in, and it really is fascinating what our capabilities are in terms of learning. And it's almost as equally fascinating, especially for those that haven't really traversed the depths of the occult, at how stunted most people are in their learning, particularly by a certain age. And I'm not talking about the general life experience learning that we all by default undergo simply by waking up each day, week on week, month on month, year on year, decade on decade, that through even the most banal existence would come to learn something, right? They might learn that they no longer like Fruit Loops, or they might learn that their fingernails grow at a rate where they have to cut them once a month. No. I'm talking about intentional, studious, subject-based learning. And what's so interesting is the parallel, or we can draw a parallel. I don't know if it's a concept, but it's something I'm able to observe in regards to our learning process vis-a-vis education. Who busted? Better believe. And when that seems to start and stop, and under what dictates. So first, in regards to our capacity to learn, what I've discovered in these last few years is, I don't know if it's damn it, that's like the 4th one. Blue lights in the background. I don't know if our ability builds on itself, or is exponential, or it's just virtually unlimited. But the amount of information one can take in, new subjects, new hobbies, new topics, however you want to define it. And you could think of this as the graduatory steps that we seem to go through in regards to formal education, right? Kindergarten, first grade, okay, you're graduating from high school, now you're going on to a associate, maybe a bachelor, now a master's, now a doctorate, postdoctorate, and as many doctorates as you want. And in that setting, most people can recognize, they studied psychology and they went on to get their MD, and then they went into residency, and then they were a doctor, and of course as they're practicing medicine they're learning a bit more. But beyond that, beyond the intentional framework that we call education, most people don't invest a lot of extra time into learning. And that's not to say that some people don't pick up certain skills or interests later on in life, but it's in a rather informal sense. And there's only a few people that seem to really gravitate towards going down those rabbit holes of whatever the topics are and really exploring those in much depth. And so it begs the question, why aren't more people spending more time learning more things? And if you've listened to any of my work in the recent past, you know that I'm heavily interested in the occult. And I don't think it's fair to say simply that, people just don't have the time, right? They have families and obligations and whatever little bullshit you want to throw in there to suggest that it's neither important nor applicable or possible for these people to continue to learn. Because my very argument is that it is not by happenstance, coincidence, or accident that people are not continuing their own personal education on topics beyond what the education system has provided them. First of all, the education system has by default told people what to think, not how to think. And embedded within that curriculum is this notion that what you are learning from them is close to, if not the end-all, be-all, and that if you actually need to learn anything else, well, you'll go on to a secondary education. The sick humor is, first, that's flippantly wrong. Even if they taught you necessary or useful things, that couldn't possibly be all of it. And secondly, what they do teach you is basically pig shit. So it's kind of this double-edged sword, and both sides are not in your favor, in which they are facilitating an environment that suggests, and I'll prove this out, that suggests what you learn in those formative years and maybe through college is really all you need to know. And if you need to know something else, maybe you go on to a doctorate. Or, of course, you'll learn it at your place of work, but you won't learn it on your own. I mean, that's why they're not teaching us more about ourselves at such a young age, because, as I've expressed before, and what I'm coming to learn more and more, the more you know yourself, again, as paraphrased at the Oracle of Delphi, know thyself, you will come to know the heavens that surround you, that is to say, the invisible world and all the other pertinent things regarding life and its origin and your meaning and importance here at this planet. But the really cruel, sick part of it all is how they've embedded the idea subconsciously that what we learn by a certain age is what defines who we are. And you see this play out time and time again. Because if you go to present a new idea to people, as we see with this movement of trying to wake people up to what's really transpiring here on our planet, if you present an idea to which it runs into conflict with a pre-existing paradigm, again, the paradigms that are established in your formative years, people will go to such great lengths to deny with vitriol the opposing stance, even if they know it's right, because it clashes with their identity. And see, if we had been taught, or if we had come to know that our identity is not the information we hold dear, and in so fact, it's the information that was taught or given to us at such a young age, then people would be more readily capable of upon encountering a new idea that is in contrast to their existing beliefs, if that new idea is true, they should be ready to accept it. Just see how people dig their heels in on any argument when you demonstrate that something they hold sacred to themselves, religion, money, education system, what they watch, who they vote for, who we should invade, etc. When you present an idea of truth that contradicts that, how quickly they shun that instead of accepting it for what it is and realizing it is more important to identify with truth than with what you already know. See, they have, for all intents and purposes, put us in a box. And not only is that box very limited, but what's in that box is total shit. Now, of course, there's little bits of truth sprinkled in there as well. That's what keeps people occupied. It's like you're in a room full of scorpions, but there's a candy bar in the corner, so that's all you're focusing on, not realizing you're surrounded by all these scorpions. As long as they can keep you fixated on that, then they've got you controlled. So as I reflect, not only have I come to understand the allegorical matrix that they've built around us, I don't necessarily believe that this planet is some sort of fabrication and that we're living in a matrix so much as we have been confined through mind control to exist within parameters that they establish for us. That's really what the matrix is. So not only can I see that for what it is and then see what they have injected into that box, into that matrix for people to consume, but I'm also coming to realize through experience how much more we can learn once we give ourselves that permission to continue to explore knowledge. And that brings us back to the trivium, the old model of how to think. Grammar, logic, and rhetoric. Information in, you process it, and then you output it as right action, which is the demonstration of wisdom. So really my reflection is engaging in the trivium, de-occulting so many mysteries, and then with ecstasy coming to the realization of the capability of our mind to consume, digest, and then extrapolate and live and exhibit this abundance of wisdom. And I consider myself, for all intents and purposes, an average person, an average man, meaning what I've been able to unearth and discover within myself and in my environment, anyone else can do. The notion of you don't have time is flat on its face absolute bullshit, because once you tap into the vibration of truth and align yourself with that, that is the ultimate thing that you desire, and nothing will stand in your way to get more of it, to pursue it with zeal, with zest. See, I may not have a family and kids that occupy my time, but I have 2 businesses, and I spend at least 60 hours a week working. But in these last few years, honestly, you would be astounded at the amount of information I have been able to receive, read, listen to, digest, and now put into action. And it absolutely floors me. I'm astounded and very grateful at the opportunity I've given myself and the amount of information we can access, download, digest, etc. That I am speaking this as my reflection to encourage people, to continue or to replicate or to feel empowered, to feel inspired by what I am doing, meaning the path that I've chosen in terms of truth, and to see that, here's just another person, look what they're able to do, and to believe that you also have that ability within you, and to not feel confined by the matrix or the box that they put us in through our formative years of education, and that you got to go in and scrub all that shit out and then open that box and climb out of it and see the world for what it really is, and to get into the occult so that you can not only come to know yourself, but come to really understand who and what we are and what we're capable of. And for those that are interested, I know I've only dabbled in creating content in regards to these videos that I put out as these Caveman in the Car monologues, but I do endeavor to create a little bit more of a substantial platform by which I can share the resources that I've encountered, so that you can begin to pierce the veils that surround us in these cosmic grid works, so that you can help tear down not only the box and matrix for yourself, but also become a part of the team, you know, of human fucking beings that are working together to bring that down, to de-occult all these mysteries, so that we can really step into paradise, for lack of a better term, you know, for what this world really can be. And I'm not saying it's easy, but there is very much the mechanism of a positive feedback loop built right into it, so that as you begin the journey, yeah, it's gonna suck and it's gonna be hard, because you have to go through some shadow work and you've got to heal so much. Okay, you have to seek healing, not only relief from something, and that takes a certain responsibility and a bucket load of effort to do that. But what's on the other side is beyond words of how great it can be. All right, I'll wrap things up there. This has been my reflection as I turn 37, coming to know myself and the world that surrounds me and the greater cosmos, and hoping that these words find you well, and that as you reach your next milestone around the sun for your birthday, whenever that is, wherever it is, that maybe you sit back and think, you know, maybe I should learn some more, specifically the things that I wasn't taught in school. Cheers.